Good morning, students. So today we are going to start our next topic from the chapter 6, life processes. And the topic for today is human nutrition. That is given on page number 98 of your NCERT book, Nutrition in Human Beings. So as all of you know very well that human beings, they have holozoic mode of nutrition. I have explained the term holozoic. Holozoic means that they feed on complex organic molecules. They take complex organic molecules inside their body, and as the organic molecules, they are complex in nature. So their digestion, it takes place inside the body of the humans with the help of a special type of enzymes that are present in different regions of their digestive organs. So here in the body of the human beings, this complex food is broken down into the simplest one by the application of these biocatalysts, which are known as enzymes. So children, human nutrition is actually the study of how the food it affects the health and the survival of the human body. Why we need food? We need a food because this food, it gives us energy. It is responsible for our growth processes, maintenance of different cells and tissues inside our body, and it is somewhat related with reproduction also. You know that we take variety of food and it consists of different type of components. We have already discussed the components of the foods. So food which we take, it generally contains carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, along with water. So all of these carbohydrates, proteins, fats, these are actually the macromolecules. That is, they are complex in nature. So whenever they enter into your body, it is necessary that they must come in the simplest forms or the simplest particles so that they can be easily digested and absorbed by various body parts for the purpose of obtaining energy. So here I am going to tell you more about the human digestive system. Dear children, the human digestive system, it generally consists of two broad things. And one is the long alimentary canal that starts from your mouth and ends at your anus. And the second thing that is very important in human digestive system are the digestive glands. So there are different type of digestive glands that are present in various regions of the human digestive system. You have learned in your previous classes about the parts of the human digestive system, which are known as its components. So human digestive system, it consists of so many parts. First is mouth, then we have esophagus, which is also known as our food pipe. This esophagus later joins the stomach. It is somewhat of the shape of J letter, and this stomach later continues into the small intestine, and the small intestine opens into the large intestine. So this is the all about the components of the human digestive system. So first of all, I'm going to tell you that how the food it enters into your body and what is happened to this food. As I have already discussed, the food which we take, it generally contains carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and some amount of minerals and vitamins with water. So here, the major components of your food, they are actually the macromolecules. So their breakdown must be required by your body. So the process of digestion, it right start from your mouth. So as soon as the food it enters into your mouth, so what is present inside your mouth? In your mouth, the teeth are present as well as a muscular tongue is there. So we have four types of teeth you have also studied in your previous classes. These may be incisors, canines, premolars, and molars. So all of these teeth, they crushed the food items into the smallest one. They grind your food. Beside your teeth, the muscular tongue is also present. So when the food is crushed into smaller particles, this muscular tongues, it later push the food towards your food pipe, which is also known as esophagus. The cavity of your mouth, which is also known as the buccal cavity, it is somewhat soft and moist in nature. So the ball of buccal cavity, it is moist because of the presence of a watery fluid that is present in your mouth, and it is known as a saliva. So saliva is a kind of a lubricating fluid that do not allow the food particles to stick with the wall of the buccal cavity. So this saliva, which is actually a kind of a chemical excretion containing the enzyme salivary amylase, which is previously known as a ptyalin. It is actually secreted by three kinds of salivary glands that are present in different parts of your mouth. So what are these salivary glands? These salivary glands are subparotid, which is present beneath your cheeks, submaxillary, which is present below the lower jaw bone, and the sublingual gland that is present below the tongue. So what is the function of this saliva? This saliva, which is a kind of chemical, it contains the enzyme salivary amylase. So it moistens the food and it covers the food particles. And in this way, the food particle, which is actually covered by this saliva layer, it is known as bolus. As I have already discussed, it contains the enzyme ptyalin or salivary amylase. So this salivary amylase is actually the enzyme that is related with the digestion of carbohydrates. So here, the digestion of the carbohydrates begins right from your mouth. So this salivary amylase enzyme, it breaks the complex polysaccharides, which are known as carbohydrates. And the chief among these is a starch. So this salivary amylase, it breaks the starch into simplest sugar that is known as maltose. The enzyme require basic medium for its activity. So this enzyme salivary amylase, it generally works at 6.8 pH in your mouth. Okay, student, what is a saliva? I have already explained you that it is a kind of a clear, tasteless, odorless, and slightly acidic fluid which have a pH of 6.8. It is somewhat viscous in nature, and it consists of secretions of that is coming from the parotid glands, sublingual and submedullary, salivary glands, and mucus glands of the oral cavity. The function of the saliva is to keep the mucous membranes of the mouth moist. Along with this, it also play an important role to lubricate the food during mastication and in a measure to convert a starch into the simplest sugar known as maltose. The later action being affected by the diastatic enzyme that is ptyalin. Yes, students, when the food it is crushed into smaller particles, then your muscular tongues it push this food towards the food pipe or esophagus. Your food pipe or esophagus is a tube-like structure having so many muscles that constitutes the esophageal wall. So these muscles, they have special type of property. These muscles, they can contract and relax so that the food particles, they can be easily pushed in forward direction towards the stomach. So as soon as the food, which is actually in the form of a bolus, it enters into your esophagus or a food pipe, then the rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the esophageal muscles takes place. And as a result, the food particles, they move in forward direction in the form of a wave, and such type of muscular movements that are performed by the esophageal muscles for pushing the food towards the stomach. It is known as peristaltic movements or peristalsis. So what is peristalsis? Peristalsis is involuntary rhythmic wave-like contractions which move the food through the digestive tract towards the stomach. Yes, student, here the picture of the peristaltic movements, how it takes place in the esophagus or the food pipe. It is visible on your screen. So there are special type of muscles that you have studied in class 9th too, which undergoes contraction as well as relaxation for the purpose of movement of food particles in a particular direction towards the stomach. So this type of muscular movement is peristaltic movement. Yes, student, as soon as the food it enters into your stomach from the esophagus with the help of sphincter muscles, then this food, it is actually contains certain components. It may be some carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So all of you remember that in the stomach, the digestion of proteins, it chiefly occurs. As you know that the food which comes from the mouth, it is have a medium which is basic in nature. So as soon as the food it enters into the stomach, you know very well that in the stomach HCl acid is there. So this HCl acid, it actually creates an acidic medium in your stomach. So because of this HCl acid, the protein digesting enzyme, which is chiefly known as a pepsin, because this enzyme only works under acidic medium. So because of the presence of HCl acid in your stomach, this protein digestive enzyme pepsin, it easily works. So here the digestion of proteins takes place. So proteins which may be in the form of proteins, peptides or peptones, their digestion it takes place in your stomach by the action of the enzyme pepsin, which breaks them into simplest form of proteins, maybe dipeptides. So I can say here the complete digestion of the proteins it does not take place, whereas the proteins they comes into their simplest form in the small intestine later on. One thing that I want to tell you here, that along with the protein digesting enzyme pepsin, one another enzyme that is also present in your stomach, and that enzyme is known as renin. So this enzyme renin, it is actually responsible for the digestion of milk proteins. So generally the small babies which feeds on milk, they have special type of proteins present in the milk which contains paracasein. So as soon as this enzyme renin, it comes in contact with these milk proteins paracasein, they break them and converts them into casein. So two protein digesting enzymes are there. One is pepsin and another one is renin. So remember that renin is responsible for the digestion of milk proteins only. So HCl, pepsin, as well as the third thing that is present in the stomach is mucus. So what is the function of this mucus? This mucus is actually a viscous-like fluid that is present in the wall of the stomach, and it protects the stomach wall from the action of the acid HCl, because sometimes we feel that there is over secretion of HCl acid when we eat more or when we eat less. So as a result, the damage of the muscular wall of the stomach it takes place. So the function of the mucus is to protect the stomach wall from the action of HCl. So one very important thing that I want to tell you here is that special type of glands that are present in the stomach, and these are known as gastric glands. So these gastric glands, they produce the three things, that is HCl acid, pepsin enzyme, as well as mucus. So later on, when the sphincters of the stomach it opens, the food it move towards the small intestine. So students, here you remember that in the mouth, the digestion of the carbohydrates takes place, whereas in the stomach, the digestion of proteins, it takes place. But the food also contains fats, but the fat digestion is not seen in mouth as well as in the stomach. So when the food particles, they reaches the next part of your digestive system, which is a small intestine, then the food molecules, they are generally uh, acidic in nature because of the presence of HCl in the stomach. So as soon as these food particles, they enter into the small intestine, then these acidic molecules of food, they convert into the basic molecules by the action of certain secretions that are received from the liver, and they are collectively known as the bile salts. So students, small intestine, it is the longest part of your digestive alimentary canal. So this small intestine, which has its continuity from the stomach, it is packed in a highly compact region within the large intestine in a coiled form. It is the longest part. It is the site of absorption of food. And it is that region where the complete digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals takes place. The small intestine is that region of the digestive system which generally have a length of 5 meters long. So this small intestine, as it is a highly coiled structure. So why it is highly coiled? Because it is the chief site for the absorption of the food. So this highly coiled nature of the small intestine is only for the purpose of absorption of a food. Children, the small intestine is made of three regions. The first part of the small intestine that has its continuity with the stomach, it is known as the duodenum part of the small intestine. Then this duodenum, when it enters into the large intestine and have converted into large projections of coiled forms, then this highly coiled portion of the small intestine, it is known as jejunum. And then the jejunum, it finally joins one part of the large intestine, and that is known as ileum. So small intestine has three regions: duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Yes, student, how the process of digestion, it takes place in the small intestine. So all of you remember that the small intestine is the site of complete digestion as well as absorption of carbohydrates, proteins, as well as foods. So here, this is the reason where the carbohydrates, proteins, as well as you can say the fats that comes into their simplest forms. So this small intestine, they receive the secretions that are coming from other digestive glands of our body. As you know, the largest gland of our body is liver. So this liver, it secretes its chemical secretion that contains bile salts and bile pigments. The two chief type of bile pigments are bilirubin and bilirubin, and these are actually used for the emulsification of the larger globules of fats into the simplest one. So student, here one very important thing is, beside livers, the small intestine, it also receives the chemical secretion from pancreas. So this is known as pancreatic juices. The pancreatic juices contain three important enzymes, that is pancreatic amylase, pancreatic lipase, and a protein digesting enzyme known as a trypsin. And we can also say that the wall of the small intestine, it itself produce intestinal juices that also contain enzyme amylase, lipase, and protein digestive enzymes. So all of these secretions, the bile juices which comes from the liver, it temporarily stored in the gallbladder. And from this gallbladder, it enters into the small intestine. And the pancreatic juices, it also join these liver juices, which are actually the bile juices. So remember, no enzyme is present in the bile juices, whereas the pancreatic juices contain three enzymes: pancreatic amylase, pancreatic lipase, and trypsin enzyme, which is the protein digesting enzymes. Okay, children, here one flow chart is visible on your screen. So there's a different type of enzymes that are generally working in your small intestine for the digestion, but initially they are present in their inactive form. For example, the enzyme trypsin, which is the chief enzyme responsible for protein digestion, it is present in its inactive form in your small intestine as a trypsinogen. And beside trypsin, chymotrypsinogen is also there, which later activate to form chymotrypsin. Procarboxypeptidase, this enzyme, it is again activated by trypsin into carboxypeptidase. So as you have seen in the stomach region, these proteins, peptones, proteases, by the action of these trypsin, chymotrypsin, and carboxypeptidase, it converts into dipeptides. But these dipeptides, they are not the simplest form of proteins. So these proteins, they later comes in their simplest form, which is actually you can say monopeptides, and or you can say amino acids in the small intestine. So fats, initially on fats, what kind of enzyme acts? Lipases enzyme, they act on fats. They convert into diglycerides. Then again, lipases enzyme, they act on them, and this diglyceride converts into monoglycerides. And similarly, the nucleic acids are also there. So on the nucleic acids, nucleases enzymes, they generally work, and these nucleases enzyme, they convert the nucleic acids into their smaller units, which are known as nucleotides. So all of these enzymes, they are working in the small intestine. So here I have shown you the role of the enzymes that are involved in the process of digestion. So carbohydrate digestion, as you know, it takes place in your mouth. So one enzyme is present, salivary amylase. So this salivary amylase enzyme, it breaks the carbohydrates and converts them into simplest form, which is known as maltose. Then after maltose, now in the stomach, you can say the protein digestion, it only takes place, the digestion of the carbohydrates is not there. So later the digestion of the carbohydrates, it takes place in the small intestine. And here one carbohydrate digesting enzyme is present, and that is known as pancreatic amylase. So this pancreatic amylase, it breaks the disaccharide, which is still a complex form of carbohydrates, and convert them into the monosaccharides. So these disaccharides, on these disaccharides, some and other enzymes, they always act, and that is a disaccharidases. So students, whenever I use the word ACE, whenever I use the term that ends with a suffix ACE, this means I am calling here the name of the enzyme. So student, regarding protein digestion, you know that the digestion of the protein, it actually starts in your stomach. And the chief enzyme of protein digestion there is a pepsin. So this pepsin enzyme, it breaks the proteins and convert them into smaller polypeptides. So this is still not the simplest form of the proteins. And whenever this protein, smaller peptides, they enters into the small intestine, then where it is present, trypsin and chymotrypsin enzymes. So they later act on these small polypeptides and convert them into pancreatic, you can say, smaller polypeptides. And on these smaller polypeptides, carboxypeptidase, it act and convert them into the more smaller peptides, that is dipeptides, carboxypeptidase, and aminopeptidase. Regarding the nucleic acid digestion, children, you know that nucleic acids, they are of two types, DNA and RNA. So on these, the pancreatic nucleases enzyme, they act and convert them into nucleotides. And on nucleotides, the enzyme nucleotidases, they act and convert them into nucleosides. And regarding the fat digestion, the fats which are in the form of triglycerides, on them pancreatic lipase enzyme attacks, and convert them into glycerol, fatty acids, and monoglycerides. So this is all about the role of the enzyme in digestion overall. You need not to remember the functions of each and every enzyme. I will send you one flow chart in very simplified form, and you go through that flow chart, and the main enzymes, that is the enzyme which generally play a role in a mouth, then in a stomach, then in you can say small intestine, that you have to learn only. This is only to enhance your knowledge. Yes, children, this I have already discussed. If proteins are in the form of dipeptides, this means this is still not the simplest form of proteins. So here on them, dipeptidase enzyme, they act and convert them into amino acid. So all of these reactions, they take place generally in the small intestine. If the carbohydrates, they are in the form of maltose, then on them maltase enzyme it act and convert them into glucose plus glucose. So glucose is the simplest form of carbohydrate. If the carbohydrate, it is in the form of lactose, then on this lactose, the enzyme which acts is lactase and convert them into glucose plus galactose. And if the enzyme is, if the carbohydrate is in the form of sucrose, then on it, sucrase enzyme, it acts and convert them into glucose and fructose. And if nucleic acids, they are present, then these nucleic acids are the complex type of polynucleotides. On this polynucleotides, the enzyme acts, and these enzymes, they convert them into nucleotides. And on nucleotides, the enzyme which acts, they are known as nucleotidases, and they convert them into nucleosides. And the nucleosides are still not the simplest form of the nucleic acids. So on these nucleosides, the enzyme acts, which are known as nucleosidases, and convert them into sugars and bases, which are the simplest form of the, you can say, nucleic acids. Then if we have di and monoglycerides, which are actually the form of fats, so on these, the lipases enzyme, they act and they convert them into fatty acids and cholesterol. So this is all about the equations that are related with digestion that takes place in the small intestine with the help of enzymes. So all of you remember very well that there is a complete digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And these carbohydrates, they later converts into their simplest form, which are known as glucose. And the proteins, they also comes into their simplest form, which are known as amino acids. And the fats, they also convert into their simplest form, which are known as fatty acids and glycerol. So all of these equations that are related with breakdown of the complex type of carbohydrate, proteins, and fats into their simplest form, it actually takes place in the small intestine. Yes, student. The very important thing that is related with the small intestine is the presence of the finger-like outgrowth or finger-like projections that are present on the wall of the small intestine, and these are known as villi. Villi are the small finger-like outgrowth that are present on the wall of the small intestine. And what is its function? Its function is it helps in the process of absorption. It increases the efficiency of the small intestine for the purpose of absorption. So where these villi are present, these villi are actually located on the inner wall of the small intestine. And its only function is to increase the surface area of the small intestinal wall to absorb the digested food. Yes, student, the picture of the intestinal villi, it is visible on your screen. So see, these villi are the finger-like projections. They are actually present on the inner surface or inner wall of the small intestine, and they are surrounded by a special type of blood vessels. So numerous capillaries, they surround these villi-like structures. So they are richly supplied with blood vessels. So as soon as the complete breakdown and digestion as well as absorption of the food molecules, it takes place in the small intestine, and the food, when it comes into its smallest particles, then from these a highly coiled portion of the small intestine, which generally contain the villi-like structures, this absorb the food. It finally move from the villi to the outside surrounding blood vessels, or you can say capillary networks. Yes, students, the one very important thing that I want to discuss here, that fat molecules, they are also present in the small intestine, and for their breakdown, we have the enzyme which is present in the pancreatic as well as intestinal juice, and that is the lipase enzyme. So these fat molecules, they are actually in the form of larger globules. So these larger globules, it is not easy for enzyme action for their breakdown. They must be comes into their simplest form. This means the smaller globules. So bile juices, they are playing a significant role in it. They breaks the larger flat globules and convert them into the smaller globules, which can be easily further breakdown into the simplest particles by the enzymes. So the chief enzyme that is involved here for the breakdown of fats is the enzyme lipase, and this lipase enzyme is present both in the pancreatic as well as in the intestinal juice. So again, the picture of the intestinal villus, it is present. So these are the finger-like projections surrounded by the blood vessels. Different type of cells, they are also present on the wall of the small intestine. These may be the epithelial cells. So these are the intestinal crypt. Arteries are also visible. Lymph vessels are also there because the fat smaller globules, they are actually transported by the lymphatic vessels as they are organic in nature. And small arteries and veins, they are also seen in the picture. Yes, student, here I have written some of the adaptations that are related with small intestine for absorbing the digestive nutrients. So some of the important features that are related with the small intestine, it is very long, about 5 meters in an adult humans. And how this help in absorption process? So this gives plenty of time for digestion to be completed and for digested food to be absorbed as it slowly passes through it. Second thing that is related with the small intestine, it has villi-like structure, and each villus is covered with cells which have even smaller projections, and these are known as the microvilli. So what is the advantage of these? So this gives the inner surface of the small intestine a very large surface area. The larger the surface area, the faster nutrients can be absorbed. And the third thing is that these villi, they contain the blood capillaries. So monosaccharides, which are the simplest form of carbohydrates, amino acids, water, mineral, vitamins, some fats, they pass into the blood and they are taken to the liver and then around the body. So villi, they also contain lacteals, which are a part of the lymphatic system. So what is its role in absorption? So they here the fats, they are absorbed into the lacteals. Villi has walls only one cell thick, so the digestive nutrients can easily cross the wall to reach the blood capillaries and lacteals. Yes, student, here I have shown you one of flow chart that contains the name of the enzyme, their site of action, their site of production, and the nutrients on which these enzymes they generally act. So go through this flow chart. So the different enzymes that are present in the process of digestion may be amylase, pepsin, lipase, amylase, trypsin, lactase, maltase, sucrase, and peptidase. So amylase enzyme is found in mouth, and site of production is salivary amylase and nucleic act on carbohydrates. Pepsin is found in stomach, in the lining of the stomach, and its role is a digestion of proteins. Lipase, it is found in small intestine, in pancreas, and it's mainly act on the fats. Amylase enzyme, it is also found in intestinal juices of the small intestine. Pancreas is the site. Then carbohydrate digestion. Then trypsin, small intestine, and then the site of production is pancreas, and its role is on protein digestion. Lactase, it is also found in small intestine, in the lining of the small intestine, and it is also involved in the breakdown of carbohydrates. Maltase, it is also found in the small intestine, in the lining of the small intestine, and its role is also in the breakdown of carbohydrates. Sucrase, it is found in the small intestine, in the lining of the small intestine, and it also play an important role in carbohydrate digestion. And last one is peptidase. Its site of action is small intestine, and site of production is lining of the small intestine, and it is involved in the breakdown of the nutrient proteins. Yes, student, this is all about enzymes. So go through these flow charts. It is very easy to memorize the function of enzymes through these flow charts. Yes, student, the last component of the human digestive system is the large intestine. So large intestine is the last part of your digestive system, and it play very few functions. So its function is to absorb body water from the matter, food matter, and then to pass useless waste material from the body. So it is larger in diameter but shorter than the small intestine. Diameter is big, but it is shorter than the small intestine. The student here, your large intestine, it extends from the ileum to the anus. And it is divided into so many parts. So see the diagram of your large intestine. The first part of the large intestine, it is known as the caecum. It is known as the caecum. Then from the caecum, the another part of the large intestine, it is known as ascending colon. So this is the ascending colon, and this is the transverse colon, and this is the descending colon, and the descending colon, it later ends into the rectum. So here your fecal matter, it store temporarily as soon as it receives signals for its excretion, and this is the anal canal or your anus. So the function of the large intestine is absorption of the water and electrolytes and storage of the undigested material until expelled from the body in the form of feces or fecal matter. So longitudinal muscles of the colon is restricted to 3 flat bands which are known as tinea coli. So you remember the name of the components of the large intestine. These may be caecum, ascending colon, transverse colon, then descending colon, rectum, and anal colon. So that's all in today's lecture, students. So go through the topic digestion in human beings. I'm quite hopeful the topic is very much clear to you. If you still face any difficulty, send me your doubts on my personal WhatsApp numbers. So that's all in today's lecture. Have a nice